right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 707 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And today we're going to talk some Coach Arthur Smith. The thing about Arthur Smith is he knows what's going on. He knows what the fans want. He knows that he knows that the fans want him gone and they want him fired, and not all of the fans, but a good bit of them. And he's going to weather the storm, and he's going to try to make things right. I'm pretty sure that he's going to try to fix the problems with this team. I have no doubt in my mind of that. But me personally, I've seen enough of Coach Arthur Smith, and I'm not saying that I don't want him to succeed wherever he goes, even if he stays here. But that doesn't mean I have to be a fan of him. So we're going to talk about this article once again. I mean, these guys at SI.com, I haven't shouted them out in a while, but the guys at the Falcons Report, the SI.com, is probably the most unbiased articles that you will see for the Atlanta Falcons. I think they do like all other type of teams as well in the NFL. But the Falcons Report, I always like going to them because they're very unbiased. And like I said, you have other ones out there. Even the home team stuff is a little bit. They tear down the team a little bit more than they should. And it's not a knock on them, but it is what it is. So we're going to get into that and give you my thoughts and opinions. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. Also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. I want to thank you guys. We're getting really close to 1,500 subs over here on YouTube. Rumble is moving as well. I haven't checked the numbers on Rumble lately. I need to go back and check them. But on the YouTube side, but the podcast side, you guys are knocking it out. We're almost up to maybe almost 500 listeners a day. That's really cool. I really appreciate you guys over there. You guys are absolutely awesome. And without you guys, this show don't grow. So also I can be found on Twitter at VF Baller, and the website is firstandframerates.com. If you want to support the show monetarily, CashApp and PayPal links are below. All right, I said enough about all that. Let's talk about Coach Arthur Smith. I'm going to put the link in the description about this article. Once again, SI.com, the Falcons Report does a great job pretty much talking about the firing rumors and knowing what the fans want and what the fans demand of him. He was really ecstatic about how the fans were showing out earlier this season, coming to the games, and it's kind of dwindling a little bit. And after a 3-game, losing streak, that doesn't really help matters. Fortunately, they have a whole bye to get things together before the Saints come into town, and we play them on November 26th, which is that's going to be a really good game. Both teams aren't really up to par, but both teams hate each other, so he has a lot of time to get things right. And one thing about it is he understands the problems with the red zone. He understands what's going on in the trenches. He understands what's going on in the play calling. And hopefully he'll be able to fix that. I've seen some improvement in the last game when they played against Arizona. And honestly, I think the offense did just enough to win the game. I think the defense kind of let us down with the Kyler Murray stuff, but that's a defensive thing. And it still falls on Coach Arthur Smith, but he's the offensive guy. He's pretty much the offensive play caller, or he lets Doug Ragone do the play calling. It's his offense. He's not necessarily a defensive guy. If you want to talk defense, Ryan Nielsen is the guy you want to talk about. I think that's something it's very hard to, combat, or a hard thing to defend a running quarterback. We saw that with Josh Dobbs as well. So, with that being said, I am giving a little bit of, I've never really been harsh on Coach Arthur Smith. I just not necessarily. I just don't think that he's going to be the guy for the job. The only thing that really changed my mind is to prove me wrong. He's going to have to. Play calling aside, I think they've done great with drafting players. I think they've done a good job with all of that. But I just don't think he can do it. But I'm going to, just like any fan, they're going to roll with the punches along with the team, no matter if they're, 0-10 or they're, 10-0, or if they're 4-6 or if they're 6-4. It doesn't matter. They're going to roll with the team, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm gonna watch Coach Arthur Smith and see if he can get this done. Now I'm going to talk about a quote that he had in this article. And this article is always pretty good for to watch this type, to read this type of stuff. They do a really good job. But this is what was said prior to the quote. It says, whether that the Falcons coach Arthur Smith is not or not, whether, I'll just go skip that. I'm sorry. He's well aware of fans calling for his job and will continue to just roll with the punches as the season treads on. I mean, that's all he can really do. So this is what he says, quote, that goes back to what I was talking about. It's pro football. Don't sign up for it. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you win 10 Super Bowls or you don't win anything. That is it. That's what it is. If you don't like that, don't sign up for it. That's for players and everybody. If you don't want the pressure, there's other professions you can go do. That's what it is. You know what I mean? We know what we're hired to do. You embrace it and you try to do everything you can to win. So do right by the job you're hired to do. I mean, it's a little bit of, yeah, that's basically Coach Arthur Smith speak. That's what he says when he's at the press conference. It's a little bit all over the place. But with that being said, it's basically like, look, I'm going to go and do what I can and do the best I can to turn things around. I'm going to be the head coach and I understand what all the chatter's about. I understand what I need to do. I need to understand what I need to do better. And I believe that he's going to try. Do I have confidence it's going to happen? I'm probably about 50-50 on that. And probably more to 60-40 that he's not. You know, I want him to do good because I want this team to be great. I want him to turn it around and at least make the playoffs. You know, I mean, I don't care what anybody says, and I don't want to go too far with this. You make the playoffs, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Don't sell yourself short just because, we made it in through a wild card or whatever the case may be. We get in the playoffs. That shows that we have somewhat of a winning culture here. That shows that we're capable of running the table and making it to a Super Bowl and possibly winning one. It shows other players that, hey, I may want to come to this team because there may be a few plays away of getting to a Super Bowl. So getting to the playoffs is something that you may want to be a part of. You know, so I mean, just look at the Steelers. The Steelers should have been dead in the water. But the fact they got players and they have a coach on that team, and I know, Coach, I'm not trying to compare this team to each other or the coaches to each other. I'm just saying they have a pedigree that they know how to win. They know how to get to the playoffs. They know how to get to the postseason. You know, that's just what the Steelers are about. I would love to be in that position because every time you go out, you turn around, they bring talent in. Every time you turn around, they are in the mix in the AFC. Every time you turn around, no matter what team they got, they have players on that team who's going to make a way for those guys to be in the running. So that's the type of team I would want. Because every chance, every year, those guys could go somewhere. Even with Kenny Pickett, those guys could get in the playoffs. And once you get in the playoffs, you don't want to go to Heinz Field. You don't want to play this team when they're hungry. You got a coach like this. You just don't want it. So that's kind of like the sentiments I would like to see out of the Falcons. They have the leadership. They have the talent. But do they have the drive to do so? And this is what Coach Arthur Smith comes in. I don't know if he has that. I don't know if he has that oomph to push players. I think he's good at getting players around and actually, you know, try to get themselves into believing in something. But I don't think they got him to push them to that next level, because pushing this team to the next level, that's when you're talking about a team that could have, you know, had a very good winning record this year. This was a very soft schedule with this talent. This is why I said this team could have went 14-3. And looking at how they lost some of these games, a lot of these games are like what is it called? I lost track of thought. They're one score games. You know what I mean? So it's really a situation where these guys, a few plays here, a few plays there, they could have done some things. I mean, outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars game and the Detroit Lions game, all of these games are one-score games. And really, we know what the problem was with Detroit and Jacksonville. I mean, you kind of know what happened in those games, but all the other games you're looking at, even with the Washington Commanders, that still was a one-score game with all those problems. So at the end of the day, I could see this team really, to be honest, they could have been 8-2, because those 4 losses, the last 4 out of 5 have been heartbreakers. The other 2, 20-6, 23-17, Detroit, Jacksonville, okay, I get it. But those other 4 that they lost, man, they could have, I mean, you're literally like a couple plays away or one play away of really, flipping this season upside down. So that's one of the reasons why I believe that he can do it. I'm giving a 40% chance out of 60. Out of 100. I know some people probably got it lower than that, and that's fine. At the end of the day, I want the Falcons to win. I may not agree with the players some of the players on the team. I may not agree with the coach and the coaching philosophy, but I still want the Falcons to win. I don't want them to go anywhere to be like top of the draft pick. Oh, excuse me, at the top of the draft order all the time. I want these guys to go far. But I know what I got in front of me. I know what I got with Desmond Ridder. I don't care what anybody says. I know what I got in that team. You know what I'm saying? This team is literally going to be a team. Not the team, but the quarterback is literally going to be an above average quarterback. Even though he did play well in the Arizona game, I just don't see him being that elite quarterback. I don't see him being the cream of the crop. I don't see him, being that guy. And I'll be glad to be proven wrong. And with Coach Arthur Smith, I think we saw the ceiling of Coach Arthur Smith. I think we have. And, like I said, this is all opinionated, and this is what the show's about. It's an opinionated show, but I feel like this is what we got. It's just enough to probably get over 500, and when we get in the playoffs, all bets are off. I don't see this team being a 12-win team. I don't see this coach consistently or bringing us to a 12-win season. I don't see him bring, I said, a 13, 14-win season. Even with the talent, I think his play calling is flawed, but I think he's enough to give us 9, maybe 10 wins and get us to the playoffs and make things and see what happens from there. Now, as far as Desmond Ridder, which I'm gonna say this before I go, I believe he's the same way. He's gonna be the type of guy to probably give you 30 touchdowns, maybe 12 interceptions, and throw for slightly over 4,000 yards every season, and it'll be all right. It'll be solid. I don't see him being this 48, 4,900 yard passer with, like 35 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I don't see that. I see a 30, 30 is the max, and maybe 12, 15 interceptions a year. That's what I see out of him. That's above average. That's okay. That's good enough to get you by. But that's what I see out of these two guys. And I know that doesn't, reflect the entire team, but those are pretty much the two important, positions that most teams talk about. And without those two things, man, you really don't got anything. I think the next thing you really could talk about the trenches. And I know people probably said that the trenches is probably just as important, but trying to, evaluate 5 guys on the offensive line is very hard to do to see if an offensive line will be elite. You're just going to have to draft well and pick your spots. Because getting 5 guys like we did back in 2016, that was pretty tough to do. We got it, and it made a difference. I will agree. But I'll leave it there. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Arthur Smith knows that we want him gone, but I think he's going to try his best to turn it around, and I'll give him a 40% chance to do so. I think he'll be able to do it. Y'all let me know what you guys think. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble, also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. I am going to get up out of here. I got some couple things I got to do before I go to bed. It's about to be Friday, everybody, so you guys enjoy yourself, and enjoy the weekend. It's about to come up, but we'll have another episode prior to the weekend starting, and we'll go from there. All right, y'all. I'm going to get out of here. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.